Hey, what's happening, Roland? Well, hey, today is Friday, and it's time for the Friday update. In fact, it's May the 24th. It's the third week of May. People ask me all the time, they say, what's the best time to come to Florida? And, they like to come in January, February, or March because where they live in, say, the northern climates, they don't have good fishing then. And they say, how's your fishing then in the wintertime? I say, it's pretty good. And I tell them all the time, I say, our summer fishing is really, really good as well. But they don't come down here in the summertime. And if somebody were to ask me right now, what's the best time to fish Florida? I would say now. Right now in May. I tell you why. There's a fantastic frog bite. All week I was on Lake Okeechobee and also on Headwaters Lake. We were crushing them. I did a film with Hilary, Martin, my granddaughter, with the frog. We caught all kind of 4 and 5 pound bass. She caught an 8-pounder. And then I did some stuff with Scott. And then today, oh my heavens, I had a 5-pound bass. I had a 4-pound bass. I had a 3-pound. I had all sorts of bass. It was bright and sunny. We're throwing frogs at the edge of the hydrilla. Bam, bam, bam. At 9, 10 o'clock in the day, we caught all sorts of fish. In fact, yesterday, my guide party, I was fishing shiners in this little slot, and there was a little weed line away. And I said, it was 9 o'clock. And his biggest bass he'd ever caught was about 6 pounds. He threw that daggone frog. In fact, I got it right here. I'm going to show you this frog. This is the exact frog he threw. This one right here. Look at this guy. This is the Spro 60. It's the popping frog. I got it set on 65-pound line. I got it set on a big heavy-duty Pro Series favorite fishing rod, about 7 foot. And I'll tell you all we did, it was really kind of cool. I'm just going to show you real quick on just the kind of cast this going to take. I'm just going to show it right here. I'm just going to kind of cast up ahead. I'm just going to cast right over here in the parking lot. And I'm just going to see it out there in the grass. I'm just going to go pop. I hold my rod kind of down, pop, 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 pop. I let it sit a while. I let it sit a while, go pop, pop, pop. Let it sit a while, just a second, pop. Anyway, today we caught him. But yesterday, the guy catches a 7.5-pound bass popping the frog like that. I mean, it was really, really amazing. It was like, I don't know. He just can't hardly believe the fact that that these bass are biting a frog in a bright sun. There's not a cloud in the sky, and yet May is just a fantastic time. Well, hey, that's just part of the story. Fishing with Hilary. I did a film. I did 3 films this week. 2 on Lake Okeechobee and 1 here on Headwaters. And it was just a fantastic week on the frog. That was just part of it. That was only a third of it. Okay. The other third of it is the speed worm. I just want to show you this speed worm right just for a second. This speed worm it's actually a worm by Zoom Worms. I got it on 50-pound test line. Now I've caught 8-pound bass. I've caught 9-pound bass on the speed worm. But yesterday I threw down a ditch in the hydrilla. The hydrilla is coming up, and there's the Headwaters has got a bunch of ditches because it was orange groves and it was all sorts of agricultural deals, and there's all sorts of ditches and little canals everywhere, all over the lake. And I threw down this one ditch, kind of near the center part of the lake. I had a tap. Now, we'd caught 10 or 15 bass. We'd caught a couple 5-pound bass on the speed worm. But I just want to tell you something, folks. I've caught them 9 pounds. And I've caught hundreds of really big bass in my day in Mexico and Florida and Santee, Cooper, and Okeechobee. Yesterday, I had the biggest bass I think I've ever had on a speed worm. On this combination, it hit. I set the hook. I got this big heavy-duty Emperor Series rod, 50-pound test braid. I've got it in my stomach. I got it all set up. I'm hitting him. He sloshes out of the water. Hey, I tell you, I know when you lose fish, everybody has a big eye. Everybody thinks it's bigger than what it was. But that guy, that wasn't a 1-fister. My guide party said it wasn't a 2-fister. He said it was a 3-fister. You can put 3 fists in his mouth. He was just a gigantic fish, well in exceed of 10 pounds. And guess what? I got him up to the boat. He had the net out. He's trying to net the fish. He's just a few feet away, just right here at the water. And it just, it finally pulls out. Pulls out. But I'm telling you what, folks, and I know everybody has a big eye on the fish that they lose, but that's because I've caught really hundreds of trophy bass in my day. I'm an old man. I've hit the best fishing waters in all over the world. And I'm just going to tell you, yesterday's bass on that swim bait, on that swimming worm was one of the biggest I've ever seen. It was a monster bass. And anyway, that's that. Okay, that's that deal. Today, I went with these guys, Bob and Denise, and it was so cool because we're shiner fishing. Now, you know, right now we're taking shiners, and Denise was not feeling real good, so she had never really caught many bass. So I said, okay, Denise, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you this little spinning rod. We're going to pull up to one of these dynamite holes. Well, it's not a dynamite hole, but it's like a gravel pit here on Headwaters Lake. And we're going to take this shiner. In fact, I had some dead shiners in there. I said, I had live shiners and I had dead shiners. I took two rods. I put a live shiner on one rod and a dead shiner on the other. And I threw it right out to this little drop off. And right away, the dead shiner one took off. And she took it and she had a 3 or 4 pound bass. The live shiner's still out there. I put another dead shiner on. Just kind of threw it out just a little ways. Just kind of threw it out, 25 feet or 30 feet out. And just it sunk to the bottom. It sunk to the bottom. It wasn't but a minute. She gets a second bass. Make a long story short, Denise outfished Bob and I, and we were throwing all sorts of stuff, and we were catching all kind of fish. She caught 15 bass. Now, this is incredible. This isn't just an hour or so. She caught 15 bass on nothing but dead shiners. I know you're going to say, well, that's stupid. But I'm taking this little bitty spinning rod, 20-pound test braid. I'm taking a dead shiner that's about 4 or 5 inches long, putting it on this hook and throwing it out in 15 or 20 feet of water and just letting it sit there. And the bass right now are going crazy over dead shiners sitting on the bottom. We're not moving them. We're not no floats or nothing. They're just sitting on the bottom dead. And she caught the heck out of them. She had a couple around close to 5 pounds. I asked her, I said, what's your biggest bass, Denise? And she said 4 3/4. Well, we weighed a couple of them. They weren't quite that big. They were just a little bit less than that. But she almost got her personal best. But she caught plenty of 3 and 4 pound bass. Okay, Bob, on the other hand, he was throwing a float. Okay, and here's the float system we had. And it was pretty good. He caught a couple. He wasn't catching near as many as Denise. For some reason, and normally the floats work good. Normally we take a float, put about a 2 foot, 3 foot deal on a. So this happens to be a 5 or 6/0 circle hook, like that's a requirement here now on Headwaters Lake. 65 pound braid, and yeah, we had some strikes and it was pretty good. He lost one about, I'm saying 6 or 7 pounds. It was a pretty good one, and we caught several, but it wasn't as good as Denise's dead shiner. So then, in the meantime, I said to Bob, Bob, how are you with the speed worm? So he took this rod right here. I think it's this rod. No, I don't know what rod it was. It was maybe this rod. No, it was this rod. He took the speed worm, and while Denise is catching her 15 bass with the dead shiners, he's throwing to the weed line. He's just throwing out there, and bam, he catches like 10 in a row. And he had him up to 5 pounds. So and I asked him, I said, what's your biggest fish, Bob? And his biggest fish was almost 7. So I said, well, we'll get you 7 pounder. Well, the 7 pounder, he finally hooked a big one on a shiner. He came up and jumped, and he was probably close to that 7 pound mark. So I said, okay. So I said, Bob, I got one last ditch stand. I know we've caught 25 bass here. Where things are going good with shiners. They're going good with frogs. They're going good with the deal. But let's go fish for the monster bass I lost yesterday. That big 10 or 12 or 14 pound fish that got off that speed limit. So we snuck up, and I have on my GPS, I got a full complement of equipment. I got all the GPSs here, and I have, of course, a good system up front for GPSing, and then I got one on the console, and I get right back to the exact same spot, and I take my power poles. I got power poles on my boat, these power poles come down, and that holds my boat, just really a good anchor system, shallow water anchor system. Anyway, I stopped the boat right on this little ditch where that monster bass hit yesterday. Well, we threw in there. At one point, the shiner, well, he threw the speed worm and nothing happened. So we threw a shiner in there. We catch a 4-pounder, we catch a 3-pounder, but we didn't catch the big one. So I said, okay, let's do the last ditch stand. I know that I can take a crawl worm, and there's plenty of hyacinths, and I can punch and flip. He's from Clear Lake, California about this. So he said, I punch and flip Clear Lake. So I took my favorite punching rod, which is this one right here. It's a heavy-duty punching rod. Okay, we head south. You're talking about some neat stuff. That's 1.5 ounces weight. This is today now. I'm talking about today. That's 1.5 ounces weight. Hey, that's a bandito bug. It's all torn up. That's a 4/0 EWG. Well, that's not an EWG. That's a big flipping hook, big giant flipping hook. It's a surgical steel flipping hook. Anyway, 65, actually 70-pound braid. This is my extended handle. I got my extended handle on here for putting it in my stomach. Boy, I pitched up, and boy, right away I get like, in about an hour, I get like 15 bites, and most of them are 3 and 4 and 5 pounds. Nothing over 5. And finally, Denise is getting a little ill. She's not feeling real good. Her stomach's upset, and the sun's bothering her. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. I come up to a little point of hyacinths. I said, okay, Bob, this is the kind of place they are. And I pitched in there. It went down about 1 foot. This big bass hit. I set the hook, and I had this 7 or 8 pound bass on. It's wallowing around in the water. It finally gets off. I said, Bob, we're going to catch him now. We're going to go down through this area right now, and I'm going to have you sit up front. We're going to pitch it, and you're going to catch a great big bass. About that time, Denise was feeling really bad. The sun was getting to her. She actually had she was having some problems. She couldn't hold her stomach down. She was throwing up and stuff. We had to leave, so we left at, say, even before 2 o'clock. And so we didn't have the chance. The fish were biting. We didn't have the chance. Denise was not feeling well, so we had to leave. But the point is, we all hooked big fish. Not only today, but yesterday. But when I was with Hilary, we hooked big fish on the frog. When I was with Scott, we hooked big fish on the frog. When I was at Jerry Brousseau, we hooked big. We've had a fantastic week. In fact, I'm going to say this is one of the best weeks of fishing I think I've ever had. It's the 3rd week of May. It's on fire. Everything that you want to do is great. Well, anyway, that's kind of the update for the week. I just want to tell you that thanks for watching. And, O'Reilly is my good sponsor. Of course, favorite rods, and, of course, Spike It, and, of course, Bass Pro Shop. Everybody's really happy with what's going on right now. But just, people just underestimate the great fishing in Florida, May and June and July. In fact, May was great, but June, last year, I caught 3 over 10 pounds on flipping and buzz baits and stuff. So we have great summer fishing. If you want to get a charter going, hey, look up fishing. Well, look up my website. I'm a guide, and of course, look up Judy M. Judy M. at fishingwithrolandmartin.com. To get you a guide trip with me, I can take you out all summer long. I got airboats. I got every kind of thing, and we're catching them. Hey, son, we'll see you again soon. Hey, great week. Thanks for watching.